Good evening. Developments in the island nation of Maldives have had us hooked since late last evening. Ever since ousted former Maldivian President Mohammad Nasheed tweeted about his request to the Indian High Commission in Malé for refuge, news spread about an asylum request as well. Nasheed said that he feared that the incumbent government of Mohammad Waheed could arrest him anytime and that he feared for his safety as well. Remember, till the time ambiguous on the matter and the External Affairs Minister trying to get a handle on things. India then admitted Mr. Nasheed had sought refuge in the Malé mission and in a message to the Maldives government asked it not to take any steps that would bar candidates from recognized political parties from contesting elections. It also indicated that Maldivian President Mohammad Waheed is on watch by asking him to ensure that the elections were free, fair and credible. Maldives hit back right away by asking India to respect its country's judicial independence. At the same time, the Maldivian government gave the assurance that it would uphold and respect its obligation under international law with regard to diplomatic immunities and privileges granted to resident diplomatic missions. Mr. Nasheed has been charged under Article 81 of the Penal Code, which carries light on the big picture. We look at the strategic implications of developments in Maldives. We ask our panelists whether India has played its cards right in this particular Game of Thrones. We try and understand the situation in Malé and also get a handle on what to expect in the near future. Joining me tonight will be Anand Sahai, coordinating editor of The Asian Age, Leela Ponnappa, former deputy NSA, also Alok Bansal of the National Maritime Foundation and Anand Kumar, associate fellow with the IDSA. Many thanks all of you for joining us on the program. I'd like to start the show though, picking Mohammad Nasheed's side in the latest round of drama that seems to be playing out in Malé. The MEA has clearly asked the Maldivian government not to bar Nasheed from contesting elections. Do you think that it went too far in telling the current president, Mohammad Waheed, that he is on watch, quote unquote, and asking him to hold free elections? Can that be seen in Malé, or is that being seen in Malé as India trying to meddle in an independent country's sovereign affairs?
You know, first of all, this is an evolving situation in the manner that he did. It really is a continuum of all developments that happened from the time that Nasheed himself either stepped down or was ousted by a coup, depending on what your point of view is. 1 year ago, people were saying that India had sided with Mr. Waheed. Today, you are asking whether India has sided with Mr. Nasheed. I do believe that India's attempt has really been to try to ensure that there is a constitutional process in Maldives as it goes through the process of democratization, and this is a part of it. This is not the first time that neighborhood politics have sort of impinged on India. I think with all our neighbors, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, even Pakistan, you have people in and out of government coming to India, seeking India's endorsement, as it were. And I think the statement made by India was entirely in keeping with India's role in this region.
Right. I want to go to Anand Sahai and taking up the same issue. Before the show, we were talking about it. Do you agree with Ms. Ponnappa there that India is trying to, make sense of an evolving situation in Maldives? Do you think the response by India, first when the drama happened way back, I think you were on the show then as well, when Nasheed was ousted. Do you think India has really handled it the best way it could, or does the policy by the MEA towards Maldives leave a certain something to be, desired?
No, I take Ambassador Leela Ponnappa's point that a year ago we were accused of, siding with Mr. Waheed and now with Mr. Nasheed. So it's not a question of siding with, one or the other. And I think it's quite fair to say that, in the neighborhood, India does not behave in a ham-handed way. In fact, that has not been our tradition, either with neighboring countries, big or small, or with anyone else. I do feel, however, that when Mr. Nasheed was ousted, it's my personal feeling that it was a soft coup, their purpose, but that they were influenced greatly, I think, by certain Islamist sections in that country. And the degree of engagement between India and the Maldives on the financial side, we help them balance their budgets, we look after their debts. There is also, strategic communication. Some buccaneers try to,
take over
overthrow the government, take over.
So we have a relationship with Maldives,
but I think we have been caught by surprise a year ago And again, this year, we did not. It's not a very satisfactory situation in my view.
Right. Two important points there. One, what Ambassador Ponnappa said, and one, what you said. I want to come back to that as well. One, that there is a perception that first we supported Wahid, then we are back to Nasheed. I want to talk a bit more about that in just a bit. I'm come to you. But your reaction first on what the question I asked Mr. Sahai. Do you think India has handled it the way it should have?
You need to understand, I think India has got back into the game. In fact, when Wahid came to power, I think India was found, our mission there probably was unaware, and that was actually a big flaw. And subsequently, we found that India's leverage in Maldives had reduced considerably. The manner in which GMR was thrown out of Malé airport, and India for the first time started feeling that its preeminence in Maldives was actually being challenged. And I think this Nasheed's coming to Indian mission, this was an opportunity, and I think this has given India an opportunity to get another leverage over Maldives. And I think the statement that the election should be free and fair, he should be permitted to contest, I think these are all statements that point that India wants to get back into the driver's seat as it was. Because you would remember, there was a time when Nasheed was in power, the opposition members said that as far as India is concerned, good. From that state, we reached a stage when GMR was ousted, and India, when it tried to say something, it was not taken kindly.
Fair point, fair point. I want to come to Anand Kumar here. You heard what the previous three, not just at the fact that a minor but a very radical section of Wahhabi-influenced politicians on the fringes seem to be gaining ground and a free hand in the day-to-day running of the country. That's one point. But there is also the GMR consortium issue that Alok Bansal mentioned. They were barred from operating the Malé airport as well. A significant blow to Indian business interests there. Do you think that would have also sort of colored India's response to the current so-called crisis in Malé and after the latest round of the Nasheed drama unfolded?
Well, to an extent, you are right that GMR's ouster did surprise India, and India now wants a proper, democracy to come to that country. And actually, when Nasheed was ousted from the government, Nasheed represented first multi-party democracy in the country. And when he was ousted, certain forces which were not friendly to India came to power. And you are right that it represents radical forces. Right. So India is concerned about the kind of people who are coming to power and its impact on the bilateral relations.
Right. I want to come back to the point that Ambassador Ponnappa made, that people seem to be saying that, oh, first we supported Wahid, I beg your pardon, when he came to power, and then Nasheed. When Nasheed was ousted, Ambassador, if you remember, India was very quick to label it political unrest, not a coup. And if I seem to recall correctly, New Delhi was very quick to throw its weight behind Wahid. I remember because we had a debate right here in the studio.
I think India has always tried to be a force for stability, because we believe that stability in the Maldives is good, obviously, for the people of that country, and certainly it is good for India, because our relations are very extensive, as my co-panelists have mentioned. It is economic, it is developmental, there is education, there is health, and of course there's also security. So India's attempt that whatever is stated, even if, for example, back channels when there's communication, it is really with that in mind. Because we need stability, and we certainly see that as being in terms of a common interest.
Right. We'll take a small break, gentlemen, in the studio right here. We'll come back to that particular point. I want to get your views on it, but small break first. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to The Big Picture. Lots more coming up on the other side. Welcome back to The Big Picture. We, of course, are discussing the events and developments in the island nation of forward from there. Mr. Sahai, you heard what Ambassador Ponnappa said before the break. Your views on it? Did the Nasheed India visit when he came, it was quite recently, not very far away, do you think that played an important role in what the Indian response is right now or has been in the past 2 days?
No, I'm not sure of that. Because, Mr. Nasheed, in this discussion, I think that once Mr. Nasheed walked into the Indian compound, Indian mission there, it's hard for me to imagine that India would, not provide him refuge if he asks for it. He is a former president. He is, in a sense, the father of democracy there, if you wish. In his time, as in the time of his predecessor, it was a very, very hospitable Malé that we saw.
Absolutely.
And I think it is not entirely a coincidence that what we have seen in the past 1 year, that Chinese influence has been,
growing,
has come into play Now, to what extent it's grown, I cannot.
Right. A very important question that you raised. I want to talk about the hardline Islamist faction as well, and I want to come to Alok Bansal for that. The rise of hardline forces in the island nation. Now, they include former President Gayus Nasheed of diluting the official religion. Now, that's their line that they seem to be taking. India and campaigned successfully against the GMR consortium running the Malé airport. New Delhi must be losing some sleep, if not much sleep, over it.
See, you need to understand, when it comes to Maldives, this radical challenge is a very big issue. There have been issues when Maldivian citizens have been arrested in Pakistan, going to FATA, fighting alongside Taliban and Al-Qaeda. During the last period of Gayoom's, where Gayoom was threatened to be killed, there were a large number of Wahhabi mosques which had come up, actually, because the Wahhabis said that the government mosques have actually been built over liquor money. And in fact, that was one of the big issues which actually erupted during Nasheed's time. In fact, one of the islands where Wahhabis had actually taken hold came to Maldives. I think one big flaw of Nasheed was that while he brought in liberal democracy and he was very idealistic as far as democratic credentials and democratic functioning was concerned, on the religions front, he did not take a very liberal view, and he went along with the hardliners. So much so that he in fact appointed the Adalat, which is the hardline religious political parties, its members, as the religious affairs ministers, and invariably that gave religion a supranational authority, a supra-constitutional authority, because they could counter things saying that this is against the injunctions of Islam. And I think that led to the first major protest which happened on this SAARC summit, when the murals were set up and when this liquor money thing came, that when he tried to ban the liquor, there was again a reaction.
Right.
So I think his position started weakening from that, and the genesis of his actually overthrow started from that particular...
From his own mishandling of the situation. Do you agree with that? Could Nasheed have done better when he was president?
Nasheed actually bungled many things, and some of the problem erupted because it was not his fault. Actually, he inherited a bad economic condition in the country, and that was a major factor behind removal of Nasheed, because incidentally, I visited that country at that time, and I came to know that the country was facing huge was left behind by Gayoom, because Gayoom had left empty coffers for Nasheed, and Nasheed had to manage the country, and Gayoom had created such a situation for Nasheed where it was impossible to manage with the limited resources Nasheed was given. Gayoom had, expanded bureaucracy. Almost 30% of the country's population is in bureaucracy, which is ridiculous. You don't find that kind of situation anywhere.
It's a small country with a tiny population.
Yeah, it's a small country, and 30% of the people are in bureaucracy with no money. So where are you going to get the salary from? So Nasheed had to start cutting people's salary, bureaucrats' salary, and he even proposed cutting salary of the parliamentarians, and that alienated people from Nasheed, because people were getting money, and all on a sudden they were told that they can't get the salary.
Cut off the supply line.
So this created a very difficult situation for the Nasheed as well as for the country, and Indians were